Well, thank you all very much for being here. Our task force is thrilled to be in the Inland Empire and here at the University of Redlands. My name is Wade Crowfoot, and I serve as our California Natural Resources Secretary. And for the purposes of today, I co-chair our Wildfire and Forest Resilience Task Force, along with my colleague Jason Kiken of the U.S. Forest Service. Many of us may know Jason from his role as supervisor of the Stanislaus Forest, and he now serves as the acting Region 5 forester here in California. And Jason, thank you so much for being here. I'll have an opportunity in a moment to introduce our other executive committee members, but I have some housekeeping items just to take care of. We're with each other really throughout the day, so this is our space to use into late afternoon. If anybody needs to use the bathroom, the women's room is to my left and back, and the men's room is to the right. That's also where the exits are. We had hoped to have, or we invited a leader from the Yuhaviatum tribe to invoke our meeting today. If you participate in our task force, you know how central tribal leadership is to all the work that we do. And so while a member or representative of that tribe, of the San Manuel Nation, couldn't be here today, they did ask me to share this acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land on which this facility is sited is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Madarahim community, commonly referred to as the Serrano people. Our histories and stories are intertwined in this space. And by sharing them in culturally appropriate ways, we hope to honor and celebrate our Indigenous neighbors and partners. So we invoke this meeting in the spirit of partnership with our sovereign tribal nations. I want to thank our hosts here today, our physical hosts, University of Redlands. This is my first time on campus, and I imagine it's many of our participants' first time. It's a beautiful campus, and we look forward to hearing more about that from one of our hosts here today, who serves as the Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs, Adrienne McCormick.
Good morning, and welcome to the University of Redlands. My name is Adrienne McCormick. I'm the Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs. I've been part of this community now for 3 years, having been transplanted from the East Coast, and it's an absolute thrill to welcome you all to our beautiful campus. We're so glad to host the Inland Empire region of the California Wildfire and Forest Resilience Task Force for your annual meeting. This gathering reflects a shared commitment to protecting our natural resources and the communities that depend upon them. Your work, grounded in science and tailored to the needs of each region, is helping to create healthier, more resilient landscapes and communities. Here at Redlands, we feel the importance of this work every day. Last fall, just weeks into the semester, the Lion Fire in Highland came dangerously close to neighborhoods where many of our students, faculty, and staff live. At times, we worried it was headed for campus. Thanks to the extraordinary work of firefighters and first responders, we were spared the worst. Still, the air quality forced us, and most schools in our area, to move classes online almost immediately. Several of our Woodbury faculty and staff were personally affected by the destructive Eaton Fire, and some of our alumni lost homes in the Palisades Fire. More recently, the Hughes Fire near Castaic displaced hundreds of students from Cal Arts, and we were able to open our doors to about 150 of them, 2/3 at Woodbury, the rest here in Redlands. Clearly, wildfire is not an abstract risk for us. It is part of our reality. And like you, we know it will take innovation, compassion, and preparedness to meet these challenges head on. That is why so many of our programs are designed to give students the tools and experience to protect, and in some cases, help save the world we share. One example of these programs is our annual Tree Stock program, where California Climate Action Corps fellows join us at our Sustainable University of Redlands Farm, or SURF, which you will visit later today, to grow saplings specifically adapted to our warming climate. These trees require minimal water, absorb carbon dioxide, capture rainwater, and cool neighborhoods during heat waves. Using GIS technology and in close partnership with Esri, our students and fellows learn to identify where these trees can make the biggest impact, gaining hands-on experience that connects directly to the work you do. Since 2020, thousands of trees have been distributed throughout our community. Our commitment to environmental stewardship also extends into the humanities. In 2023, English professor Heather King led a grant-funded interdisciplinary project centered on Octavia E. Butler's Parable of the Sower, a novel set in a post-apocalyptic Southern California. The project wove together literature, environmental analysis, and GIS mapping to examine the deep connections between people and the natural world, challenging our students to think creatively about the future. And service is also at the heart of who we are. We were one of the first institutions in the nation to require every undergraduate to complete a community service internship. Since 1994, our students have contributed more than 100,000 service hours worldwide, many in areas such as environmental and community resilience, inspired by organizations such as yours. We're proud to help prepare the next generation to step into this work. Thank you again for the important work you all do as it closely connects with our mission at the University of Redlands. I appreciate your time, and I hope you have a productive meeting.
Big thanks, Provost McCormick, for your hospitality here today and for reminding us that virtually no Californians have been untouched by wildfire over the last several years, including the students here at this university. This is our 7th regional convening of the task force, and these regional convenings we're really proud to hold, and we feel like they provide a really important purpose, all towards building the capacity of regional leaders. That's you in this room. We recognize that California wildfire threats manifest very differently across Southern California. Threats and solutions in the Inland Empire look very different than in the North Coast or in San Diego County or where I live in Sacramento County. So it's critical that we travel around the state to understand both the challenges, the threats, but also the opportunities and progress in each region. And each regional effort has leaders, and I want to acknowledge 2 organizational leaders of the work here in Inland Empire, the Inland Empire Community Foundation and the Inland Empire Resource Conservation District. And so to share thoughts on our meeting today, we have the Community Foundation's President and CEO, Michelle Decker, with us. Please join me in welcoming her.
Thank you, Secretary. Thank you, co-chairs, very much for being here in the Inland Empire, Riverside and San Bernardino counties, 1 million school children, 4.7 million people, 27,000 square miles, urban, rural, suburban, chaparral ecosystems, desert ecosystems, montane forest ecosystems, 4 U.S. Forest Service mountain regions that lean into this area. The Inland Empire is a name that comes from our agricultural history, a much changed history on our landscape, but we were competing with Orange County, where we always compete coastally. But we're really happy that you're here, so I'm welcoming you on behalf of the IE Community Foundation and the IE Resource Conservation District. We are the 2 regional forest and fire capacity grantees in the region, and we've been working together now for at least 3 years, raising resources, engaging community and partners, and building our regional priority plan and project pipeline. And I am so grateful for the funds that made that possible, our partnership with the Department of Conservation, because these 2 teams are working wonderfully in a great spirit of cooperation. I want to shout out our team members, David Hernandez and Ariana Firebot Ornelas, and from IERCD, Melanie Garcia and Susie Kirschner, who did a lot of the work and lift, along with many other team members in our organizations to get here today. Yes. Respect the labor, a lot of it in this. And I'm glad that we're advancing a regional priority plan with IERCD. that reflects the deep listening that we're doing in our communities. Equity for us is about listening, is about putting the people most affected by the problems at the center of solutions. It also means understanding the equity of resources needed to do the work. And places like the Inland Empire, frankly, have been long overlooked with resources, a number we use all the time since I'm in philanthropy. We have about $37 per capita to invest of philanthropic dollars in the IE. LA is working with about 270, and the Bay Area is working with over $700. So our work to build a culture of philanthropy and bring in those resources is really critical. Again, thank you for the phone call from the Department of Conservation that helped us get started on this. A little bit about community foundations. Community foundations, how many of you are familiar with your local community foundation? Okay, next time I want all hands up. This wasn't a good number.
That's not a lot of people.
We're going to talk about that. Community foundations stand at the center of a ton of issues: housing, education, workforce, wildfire. We are often the front line on where the money comes to do the immediate disaster response, and then we live with the long-term work because we are in community and region of what that long-term recovery looks like. From California Community Foundation on Palisades, Pasadena on Altadena, North Valley on Paradise Fire, Napa, Sonoma, Ventura. It's an incredible body of learning that the Community Foundation, the League of California Community Foundations, we're a member, have really gone through with our communities to try to figure out how to respond. But we also want to be on the front end of solutions. And that's why we are all here today. We understand that we have to get ahead of this. We understand that currently we don't have the resources to do that yet for all the money flowing. And I'm really excited to share that 5 community foundations are helping fund the Wildfire Solutions Coalition. This is a long-term look at the resources that we're going to need to really get ahead of this issue over the next 10 to 20 years. My colleague Steve Frisch, our colleague Steve Frisch is in the room, and of course, look at the Wildfire Solutions Coalition table. Because I'm excited by the ambition that we have. I'm excited by the partnerships and the collaboration in the Inland Empire. And we're going to have to just lock arms and continue to do so much more. Many people care about this issue. They're not in this room today, Secretary. That's what I think I would really love to see in the next 3 to 5 years, that more people understand the work of the task force and what you all are doing, and don't take it for granted, and really share with us the work going forward. I am not originally from California. I've been here for 8 years, and I just want to close with a point of pride about the task force for all of you, because I've been involved in a number of state policy and grant efforts. Blessings. K through 16, LISTO, Census, California Jobs First, California Creative Corps, and of course RFFC. And I truly believe that the California Wildfire and Landscape Resilience Task Force is an important model for how we work statewide and in regions. And I have been so impressed with the task force as a model of planning and accountability. Don't you know I've told all of my state friends about that? So thank you, Patrick Wright, Secretary Jason, and all of the members. Thank you for making this trek. If you need to know anything more about the Inland Empire, my team and IERCD stands ready. Have a wonderful time, and let's continue the work. Thank you.
Well, big thanks, President Decker, and your points about the Inland Empire are so well taken. This is one of California's fastest growing regions and most economically and culturally dynamic regions that frankly hasn't received historically the attention from our state agencies that it should. So it's important that we're here. We're going to spend most of the day learning about what's happening in the Inland Empire. We have a panel on that to begin. Then we're going to open up the aperture a little bit and understand what's happening more broadly in Southern California, strategies for wildfire resilience. And then we're going to close the day with a panel tracking our progress and really holding ourselves accountable for achieving what we collectively need to in Southern California. But we're also a working task force, so it's not just about holding these convenings. We've held ourselves accountable across federal, local, state, tribal governments to come together on an action plan and then achieve that action plan. So we're going to spend the next several minutes providing an update on just where things stand in California with all this work. And we're going to hear from our Executive Director, Patrick Wright, in just a moment. I do want to shout out first the sponsors that brought this convening together. You may know if you work in government, it's hard to pull a meeting like this together in government, and oftentimes we require not only the people power, but the funding of other organizations. So we both have public partners and private sector sponsors. So a big thanks to Caltrans, the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy, the Mountains and Recreation Conservation Authority, Irvine Ranch Conservancy, the RCD of Greater San Diego, Inland Empire Headwaters Resiliency Partnership, California Fire Safe Council, San Bernardino Valley Regional Water Agency, Southern California Mountains Foundation, BurnBot, Vibrant Planet, and of course, CAL FIRE. So huge thanks and big thanks to everybody who braved the, One of my favorite parts of these regional convenings is the resource fair outside. So big thanks to everybody who brought a booth there. I believe they'll be back during lunch, so people should get outside and learn about each of these organizations. So I'll set the frame or share some thoughts for the day, and it starts with recognizing the incredible heroism that continues across California today as we meet. 10,000 plus firefighters from CAL FIRE, the U.S. Forest Service, our local fire agencies are out there keeping our communities safe. And most of the work we talk about in this task force is all about how we work before wildfires ever come, to keep wildfires small, manage fire, prevent catastrophic, dangerous wildfire. But the fact is, it exists, and it exists across California. And it is incredible, the work that CAL FIRE and the Forest Service and its partners are doing. I have a colleague in Sacramento who lives outside of Sacramento in a place called Cameron Park. And last weekend, he watched this incredible aerial force, including C-130s and helicopters, attack a fire 4 miles from his house. And he stood on his porch and literally watched for like an hour as it was plane after plane after plane putting retardant on that fire. And luckily, it kept that fire very small. Our heroes are doing that on a daily basis. And so we do this work looking ahead, recognizing the broad threat that we have, but with eternal thanks to the work that we do. So if we can just put our hands together for our first responders. I also want to thank Jason and our federal partners, and Joe, Jason, who of course leads the Forest Service in this region, and Joe with the Bureau of Land Management. Make no mistake, there are a lot of differences between our leaders in California and our federal administration right now. I can be honest in saying our agency has concern about cuts coming out of Washington, D.C. that we think really diminish the capacity of our federal partners. But that's not the topic of this task force. And I want to share with you that the working partnerships on the ground across California between our federal agencies and our state agencies is as strong as they've ever been. So if you work with a member of the Forest Service or the Bureau of Land Management or even the National Park Service, thank them for the work that they do, because this partnership, regardless of who's leading a state or a nation, is critically important. So huge thanks, Jason. I want to point out that we are making major progress with all of these resilience projects that you are putting forward across the state. And I'm really thankful to Chief Tyler and CAL FIRE. There's a portion of CAL FIRE's website that you can now go on and understand how all of these wildfire resilience projects across our landscapes are impacting wildfires that our firefighters are working to suppress. It's remarkable. And I want to bring one example from last month, and it's called the Tiger Creek Fuel Break in Amador County. It's a 300-acre fuel break that was created by the Amador Fire Safe Council. It's on Bureau of Land Management land. It's funded by the Sierra Nevada Conservancy, and it comes out of a strategic plan, get this, that was put together by that Fire Safe Council, PG&E, the USDA, the Forest Service, Sierra Pacific Industries, CAL FIRE, and BLM. On August 8th, the Tiger Fire broke out in this neck of the woods and was dangerously moving upslope towards a local community. It encountered that 300-acre fuel break. The fire dropped to the ground, and our firefighters were able to make a successful stand protecting the people and property of those communities. There are examples like this across the state, and so I want to acknowledge the work that you do delivering each of these projects can save lives and property just like it did on the Tiger Fire, so I want us to remember that. I also want to point out that we all recognize we have to move further and faster on these projects. For those who were with us in Marin in April, we outlined a streamlining process to cut the red tape to get more of these fire safety projects on the ground. Governor Newsom on March 1st issued an emergency proclamation. It gave us some pretty extraordinary authorities to waive permits, including CEQA and the Endangered Species Act and the Coastal Act, several state permitting requirements if those projects abide certain environmental protections. And we were excited to roll it out, and thanks to some really hard-working women and men in state government, we now have an automated system where implementers, be it a fire safe council, a tribe, a utility, can apply for that streamlining, agree to abide all of these environmentally protective measures, and get out there and do the work. I'm proud to announce that today we have over 100 projects that have been approved for the streamlining, representing over 20,000 acres of projects, and that work continues. So if you are working on a project, take advantage of this streamlining. Go on to the Wildfire Task Force website. It's an all-automated application that we've made easy and simple. And our goal is, again, to get more of these life-saving projects on the ground more quickly. Last point, and I hope everyone agrees, we have to remain outcome focused. I'm really proud of all of the working groups of this task force and all of the convenings and the capacity building across regions, but we have to all recognize that's a means to the end. And the end is reducing risk for California communities and landscapes. And so, Patrick, I know as you and others will report, we have to maintain that urgency and that outcomes focus moving forward today. So with that said, let me turn it over to Jason for a perspective from the federal government.
All right, well, good morning, everybody, and thank you again for folks that have been working the booths outside, and I'm so glad that the air conditioning is working so well in here because it was warm outside. But my name is Jason Kike, and I am the acting regional forester here in the Pacific Southwest region, or Region 5 of the Forest Service. I've been with Forest Service for 21 years, most recently on the Stanislaus for 8 years, just in that broader Sonora area, north of Yosemite, beautiful country, come if you haven't. And so I'm looking forward to today. I'm humbled and honored to be here. The work that we're doing in partnership is making a difference, but we're not done. We have a lot before us that we need to continue achieving, and so it's building upon success, right? And so then tomorrow the field tours will be great. We'll be able to see firsthand work that's being done to protect communities to reduce risk. And yet, being from the Stanislaus, most recently my home's in Sonora, I would be remiss to not mention that community of Chinese camp was impacted this week by fire. And so our work matters, and so we need to continue doing everything possible to reduce that risk. And so going into that a little bit, as Wade mentioned, you know, there are changes afoot in the Forest Service, and so Secretary Rollins at the end of July put out a memo about reorganization of the Forest Service. The comment period has been extended till September 30th, so there is some more time for folks to make comments. And the memo is really centered around 3 different things around reorganization. First, that ensuring the size of the USDA workforce, not just Forest Service, but all of our agencies, align with financial and financial resources and priorities. That's important. So we need to be looking at what that organization is so that we can deliver to the American public. Our reductions thus far have been around voluntary retirements and the deferred resignation program. And so that's the first part. Next part is customers. It's the public. And so making sure that reorganization brings USDA closer to the customers. And so moving folks out of the National Capital Region to 5 different hubs of Raleigh, North Carolina, Kansas City, Missouri, Indianapolis, Indiana, Fort Collins, Colorado, and Salt Lake City, Utah. So wanting leadership to be in the field near the people. Third part is eliminating management layers and bureaucracy. So the Forest Service will phase out of the 9 regional offices over the next year, with implementation occurring after the fire season ends. We will look at continuing or reduced offices in Juneau, Alaska, as well as in Athens, Georgia. And then there will be research stations. We'll consolidate into a single location in Fort Collins, Colorado. And yet the fire lab in Missoula and the forest products lab in Madison will continue to be there per the memo. And so that public safety, the service to the American public is all centered on that memo. Next steps will be outlined after that public comment period, and so we will continue to look at all of that. So I know that's on people's minds, and so wanted to address it. The next part is wildfire activity. You know, as mentioned, we have firefighters every day working to hold fires to the smallest acreage possible. And we had a large lightning storm go from Central Sierras into the Northern Cascades and on up into Oregon. And so there are a number of active fires right now. Additional teams have been ordered this week, and our folks are working side by side with a variety of different agencies to protect communities and critical infrastructure every single day. And yet, as the Secretary mentioned, our work is not just on the response side, it's on the fuels accomplishment. So that's what this is about here. And so we're on track within the Forest Service to accomplish 200,000 acres this year. Currently over 114,000 have been entered into our database, and more will get entered in by the end of this fiscal year. And so that's building upon success. One of the big things this year was $75 million going to Sierra Pacific Industries to implement strategic fuel breaks throughout the Sierra Nevada and Southern Cascades. They have already implemented over 1,300 acres, with more planned for the rest of this fiscal year, and looking forward to great success there. I was able to tour one of those on the Tahoe here recently. And a couple other firefighting updates is that there's a new night vision goggle capable helicopter out of Sacramento supporting nighttime aerial operations, and that's important. That's learning on success from Southern California and our partners at CAL FIRE, and really glad for that that addition. We have 6 24-hour hoist-capable Black Hawk helicopters as well. All of that is to protect our firefighters and respond when we need them. Okay, so then going back to that active management piece, just a couple days ago, seems like weeks ago, but a couple days ago we submitted our regional active management strategy for the region, and that is to look at going up to 520 million board feet by fiscal year 28. That is a large increase, and that's to support local industry, and that is to achieve our goals set forth within this task force and beyond. We will also make sure that those forest health and resilience goals are incorporated into forest plans moving forward, and that we're using a single 5-year planning tool so that our partners, our industry partners, and our communities can see what we're going to do and how they can take part in that. And so all of that brings us to appreciation, and that appreciation is for this task force, for the many partners that are not just sitting up here on the stage with us, but out in the crowd and throughout the state, because this is heavy work that needs everybody working in cooperation. So we're adjusting our sub-regional boundaries to align with what the task force has put together. And so we're also making sure that our forests are working together with partners every single day. And then the last, one of the last things I'll say is that we're close to an agreement, 3 agreements with CAL FIRE on a Good Neighbor Authority so that we can implement projects together across boundaries, because cross-boundary is critical. And so to close, I would be remiss also if I didn't mention yesterday signed with partners Southern California Ignition Reduction Program, or SCIRP, Memorandum of Understanding, and that is a great thing. And so thankful for all those partners. Let's continue doing good work. I look forward to the rest of today and tomorrow. Thank you.
Huge thanks, Jason. And we're going to dive into that ignition reduction program, which is a key piece of the puzzle here in Southern California. So huge thanks for your leadership and your thoughtfulness. At the end of the day, we have different but aligned missions between our state and federal and certainly local and tribal governments. And this task force is all about ensuring that we align to the extent possible. We build off each other's efforts, and ultimately we do more together. So thank you for that. Speaking of that, let me introduce Chief Joe Tyler, who leads CAL FIRE. Chief Tyler, if you can give us a bit of a rundown in terms of where we stand in this fire season and any reflections you have.
Well, thank you, Wade. Thank you, Jason. It's great to be here in the Inland Empire to just be one of many voices on the task force speaking on behalf of the great work that's occurring across the state of California. When I look through the room, there are so many people that travel with us to each and every one of these task force, whether they are the ones that are occurring in Sacramento or in the regional areas. So thank you for traveling with us. And as I always say, it is really just the partnership that really gets this done. It is the innovators, the grantees. It is our tribal partners. It is the state agencies that are working together, whether it be Caltrans, whether it be the California Conservation Corps, the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation with the hand crews, our California Military Department, all continue to provide fuels reduction and input across the state. Our federal partners, I look at the San Bernardino Forest, I look at the Angeles National Forest, look at our partners on the Cleveland, speaking of specifically in Southern California. And as CAL FIRE is growing in size and complexity, I recognize as I look at my San Bernardino partners that we are taking a lot of your experience into CAL FIRE as well. But we are here to support you and support the mission, and I'm so happy with the great work that is occurring between the San Bernardino unit and the San Bernardino National Forest. So Shane Littlefield will talk here a little bit on one of the panels. He's the unit chief in the San Bernardino unit, also including Inyo and Mono. And then Bill Weiser is in the room as well, representing CAL FIRE in Riverside County. And it's important for me to recognize that while we have state mission engines in Riverside County, we are the Riverside County Fire Department. He has well over 100 fire stations across Riverside County, across the Inland Empire, doing great work. Now, those people that travel with me, as I'm just the speaking head of CAL FIRE, is really recognizing the great work of the programs that are here, that are supporting our grantees and the grant work that's going on across the state, as well as the resilience work that is occurring as well. So to take a little step back and we look at a reflection of where we were in 2024, I know we've talked about this, probably not here, but in other meetings, we really kicked off 2024 with the large park fire in Butte County, and then supporting our partners here in San Bernardino. Some of the other larger fires that occurred was the line fire and the bridge fire. Moving over into the Cleveland, the airport fire. Those were some of the largest fires. The Burrell fire that occurred in Kern County were some of the largest fires that occurred across the state in 2024. Now, recognizing at the end of 24 that the weather wasn't really moderating across the southern half of the state, we kept many of those resources in the south staffed, even though they were not funded. Recognizing that the impacts that were going to occur. Now, we recognized that we were having significant Santa Ana wind events that were occurring back to back to back in 24 across the south. As we moved into 2025, everyone responded with all of their might and will of the Palisades and the Eaton fire and the devastation of that. I know the governor moved his space to the Los Angeles area. Secretary Crowfoot and myself moved our offices for the month of January to the Los Angeles area as well, to be able to support on the ground and be able to see firsthand what was occurring. Now, we moderated a little bit after the Eaton and the Palisades, the Hearst fire, or the Hughes fire that occurred as well, and continue to do that resilience. And our pillars at CAL FIRE are really based on prevention, resilience, natural resource protection or resource management, as well as suppression. And I continue to say that when people ask me, why do we not just let the fires burn, we have an obligation at the right time to really engage in practices of finding more opportunities of fire on the ground, but I also have a responsibility to protect the private properties of California. So that is a cultural change of CAL FIRE and really finding opportunities here just last month in Siskiyou County, I know the far other end of the state, but to find that they are burning, doing prescribed fire in August is amazing to me that they see and they find those opportunities to do that. By the end of 2024, there were over 8,000 fires and over 1 million acres burned between our state and federal partners across the state of California. Right now, there's over 6,500 fires that have burned across the state for about 425,000 acres. I want to take an opportunity and just congratulate our grantees and CAL FIRE as a whole that over the last 6 years, we have met and exceeded our intent of fuels reduction on the ground, 100,000 acres minimum, but we don't stop there, we keep going. So here at the end of our fiscal year, as of June 30th, 2025, CAL FIRE had accomplished 165,000 acres of fuels reduction. But what I am more proud of in changing that philosophy of good fire on the ground is 61,500 of those acres were prescribed fire, which was the first time that we had exceeded our goal of 50,000 acres annually of prescribed fire on the ground. We continue to really work in the space of home hardening and community risk reduction, finding opportunities for business and workforce development as this continues. I just want to take another opportunity, Jason talked about it a minute ago, of lightning that has occurred. And this is some of the great work that we have to recognize that this is just for the month of August. This isn't what happened here in the first days of September. In the month of August, there was 110,610 lightning strikes across the state of California. Just in Southern California, it was over 68,000 lightning strikes. Of those lightning strikes created 534 fires. Now, of those 534 fires, publicly, we probably only heard about 10% maybe at best. A lot of that is because of the great work of the firefighters on the ground, but a lot of that is because of the great work of the fuels reduction that is going on that we talked about in the Tiger Fire. A lot of the great work that is occurring from implementation of CNRA's SB 310 efforts to find opportunities with our Native American tribes to provide streamlining of cultural burning and allow them to maintain and not have to feel like they're giving up any of their sovereign immunity to be able to do so. It's also about transparency, and we talked about the website earlier, so go to fire.ca.gov, go to the Prevent tab. You will find, for transparency, a place that we have provided every dashboard that we have available in one place to be able to see the work that is going on, including the Fuels Treatment Effectiveness Reporting Program that shows things like the Tiger Fire that allowed us to really show that fires are being mitigated by the fuels treatments on the ground. I know I'm over time, but I will end here. Moving into the rest of 2025, significant lightning, as Jason said, across central and northern California, largely focused on Tuolumne and Calaveras counties, the Stanislaus that Jason is so familiar with, that they are actively fighting, and 70% of the community at Chinese camp is now destroyed from what we call the 6-5 fire. Going into the next 4 months, we still see significant fire activity in September. This just came out yesterday from our scientists. Significant activity through September. In October, we're going to see fire activity across the North Bay and across the Inland Empire and the South Coast. By November, just the South Coast. And December, the same thing with average to above average Santa Ana wind conditions and anomalies and precipitation that's occurring. So we all have to remain prepared. We all have to remain vigilant to be able to continue to reduce the number of damaging and catastrophic wildfires.
Huge thanks, Chief Tyler. And I have to underscore this paradigm shift across CAL FIRE and you unit leadership to not only doing what we consider among the world's best jobs, responding to fires, but increasingly all of that upfront work to thin vegetation and establish fuel breaks and to get good fire back on the ground in a safe way. That's making a huge difference under CAL FIRE's leadership. I also want to give you a quick compliment because I met some of your young personnel outside who came through the conservation corps. And as everybody knows, every young Californian, every young person in California is eligible to join a conservation corps, the California Conservation Corps or a local conservation corps, and spend a year or more doing really important conservation work in California. And historically, there have been barriers from graduates of those programs actually joining CAL FIRE. Chalk it up to kind of bureaucratic red tape. Well, under Chief Tyler's leadership, those barriers have been removed, and we're seeing several hundred conservation corps members who spend a year getting experience in fire camps and supporting CAL FIRE and the Forest Service actually matriculate into CAL FIRE's ranks, and it's making for a stronger fire service. So huge thanks there. The last thing we're going to do before jumping into the meat of today is to make sure we introduce our other executive committee members. You might be wondering who else is on stage and why are they on stage. So each of our executive committee members, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourselves briefly and a little bit about what you bring to the task force or what you want to get out of the task force. We'll start with Joe Stout, who is the California Director for the Bureau of Land Management, the federal agency managing 20 million acres or more in California.
Yeah, 15 million
15.
or so.
Who's
Yeah,
counting?
Who's counting, exactly. Yeah. No, good morning, everyone. Thanks, Wade. Thanks, Jason. Really glad to be here. My name's Joe Stout. I'm the BLM California State Director, so responsible for 15 million acres here in the state. And so here in our desert district, alone where we are, a big part of the Inland Empire, we manage 11 million acres of public land. And so huge imprint here in the desert. We work closely with many of the folks in this room, have a big kind of focus here in the desert to try to get more work done on the ground, like we said. And so really here to, I'm really excited about the panels today to learn how BLM and DOI can continue to plug in and collaborate more with partners here in this region. We manage a huge footprint throughout, and we're really proud of our fuels program we have down here in the desert. Just alone, we have a desert interagency DOI fire program responsible. The area is 33 million acres, and it includes over 5 million acres of National Park Service as well. And so it's a significant area. We can't get the work done without partners here in the room with all of you. A lot of the funding that goes to the work we have huge goals as far as work we want to get done on the ground as far as acres. Last year alone in this state on BLM land, we accomplished over 50,000 acres. We have much more than that planned, but you know the resources and the actual the workforce to actually get that work done, we need folks' help. So really trying to again grow our partnerships, whether it's with the Forest Service, with CAL FIRE, so that we have more success stories like you heard on the Tiger Fire, and we can share those, and we get more outcome-focused results on the ground. And so again, really glad to be a part of this task force. Really appreciate, Wade, the opportunity to be here and speak, and turn it back to you. Thank you.
Supervisor.
Yes, good morning, everybody. My name is Bobby McCauley. I'm a Madera County Supervisor here representing the California State Association of Counties. Pleased to be here. First and foremost, I kind of want to pull back to a couple of things one of our opening speakers, Michelle, had mentioned. She actually had 3 really great points there that I wanted to just highlight and underscore. First and foremost, it was respect the labor. I think she was specifically mentioning her team, but when I think about respect the labor, really I'm thinking about all of you. So I just wanted to take a moment to thank all of you for all of your work. So. And then I just wanted to encourage you as a county supervisor, you know, we have an opportunity to unlock resources for a lot of you folks. So if you're not engaged with your local counties, if you're not engaged with your local supervisor, I would certainly encourage you to reach out to those folks. They work for you, right? So I work for you folks, and I would encourage you to take that approach when you reach out to them. Let them know what you're doing, educate them on what your programs are and what you're looking to accomplish. Because one of the other points Michelle made is not everybody knows what we're doing, right? Not everybody knows what you're doing. Not everybody knows what the task force is doing. And so when the secretary says, what do I want out of this? That's what I want. I want everybody to know the great work that you're doing. I want everybody to know the great work that the task force is doing. Because I get concerned that, state legislators, federal legislators, they may not understand. Currently we have a bill out there that would severely limit Forest Service ability to go out and manage fire. So that's a concern to me that, we have legislators that just don't understand what it means to have good fire, right? Not all fire is bad, and we need to make sure they understand that. And then one of the other points she mentioned was resource equity. I think that is such an important thing. It can be a difficult discussion to have resource equity, right? And what does that mean? Because it means a lot of different things for different regions, different areas. When we think resources, oftentimes we think money, right? We need a sustainable source of funds in order to make sure that we continue running our programs. But I think it's important to understand that money is not the end-all, be-all solution for the problems that we face. Oftentimes, it may be some sort of workforce development program to ensure that we have the labor available to get the work done, right? So resource equity, I think, is an important conversation to be had, and I'm just grateful that that was brought up in our opening remarks. So that's all I have for now.
Thank you so much. Supervisor Cottrell.
Thank you, Secretary, and good morning, everyone. I am here representing the rural county representatives of California. That's the 40 most rural counties. And just what Supervisor McCauley was saying, that we are here to work for our communities and help connect people. And so one of the things that RCRC has done, and I want to give a shout out to Stacy Heaton, who has helped organize this and put this together, is do a survey of counties asking what their priorities and needs are in this wildfire resilient space. And I wanted to share 3 takeaways from that. And first, I also want to say thank you, Secretary, for coming to meet with the rural supervisors up in Modoc County and way up there in the northern corner of the state. But the three priority needs that we heard from folks were that they're feeling understaffed. They need more staff to work in this space. We all know how collaborative these processes are, and so it takes more staff time to do those CWPPs and implement them. Second, the need for consistent long-term funding. I think counties are really thrilled to have these county coordinator positions, but to be able to have some certainty year over year that someone will be there in that position, and also that funding for other projects will be available year over year. And then finally, something that you've already addressed is the need for streamlining to get the permits to do the work. So the fact that you've already articulated that, I think, is important. And then finally, I just wanted to offer the data point of one. In Napa County, over the past 2 weeks, we've been dealing with the Picket Fire, which has been tapped out at 6,800 acres, so we're thrilled with that. And I was speaking with Chief Tyler to give him some feedback that I just wanted to share with the group, that we feel very fortunate to have all the collaboration that happened for all the prevention work that happened between our Napa County Fire Department that we contract with CAL FIRE for, our private industry, our wine industry, and our nonprofits like Napa Firewise. We really saw the prevention efforts pay off in terms of dozer lines and fuel breaks. All of the stuff that you're talking about, Chief Tyler, we could see on the ground. And the final point that I wanted to share with this room is that we saw that all the collaboration that has built up through those prevention projects pays off in response, right? We had this incredible response from our CAL FIRE partners, but our community partners felt engaged and they knew what was going on. Oh yeah, that dozer line made a difference. That fuel break made a difference. So I think we get benefits from the collaboration on the front end that supports us on the back end. So happy to be here today.
Thank you so much. Let's see, Dr. Hankins.
All right, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be down here in the Inland Empire and to see the faces and some of the work of people that I've heard about through the Regional Fire Force Capacity Grant Program. I represent the Indigenous Stewardship Network, which is an RFFC block grantee. As part of the work that we do with the Indigenous Stewardship Network, we work statewide with our tribal partners to advance the ability to steward our landscapes, our traditional ancestral places. And hearing about some of that work with the partnerships with the state and the federal government here and local partners is really fantastic. One thing that I want to highlight is that there's some great success that's built off of the existing work that this task force has done for the past few years. One of those things is ultimately getting to the place where the passage of SB 310 happened this past year, or previously, but allowed for a contract with the Karuk tribe to come into existence. And this past summer, the Karuk tribe, in 1 week while the Butler Fire was burning, had cultural burning happening in that same landscape. Over 300 acres of cultural burning taking place while a wildfire was happening just a few ridges over, and prescribed fires that were culturally led also occurring in the same area. That is huge progress in one of the things that I think is one of the most important things that I'm particularly proud of with the task force, and that is the strategic plan for advancing the beneficial use of fire. We have to find ways of getting fire on the ground. Every day there's an opportunity. If we're not doing fire, we're planning for it, we're thinking about it, we're talking to partners about it, and then we're going and doing the action. So I'm really excited about that. I also want to call out, because the last task force meeting in Sacramento, I mentioned that the Indigenous Stewardship Network was in the midst of making some hires. We are fortunate to now have onboarded our 2 staff that we brought on. I want to call out Rihanna Jones from coming from the Washoe tribe, running the environmental department there. I told Rihanna, you have to come to the task force meeting. It is the place to come to meet and know everybody who's doing this work. Not with Rihanna today is Denise Martinez, who joined us from UC Davis and had worked there doing her graduate work in cultural fire, and she's been brought on as a program manager. And in fact, next week we're working with the Amamutsin Land Trust in the Santa Cruz County, San Mateo County area to host a prescribed or a cultural burn workshop that actually is on state park lands, because Amamutsin doesn't have their own lands. So we're working at Cascade Ranch and areas within the CZU complex to look at areas where the tribe has been doing stewardship there, and thinking about what cultural fire looks like in that landscape. So I'll leave it there because I know I'm at time, but I appreciate being here, and I look forward to talking with you all. Thank you.
Yeah. Big thanks, Don, and I'll make 2 quick points. One, most everyone knows, but it bears repeating, which is this effort, this movement to get good, safe fire back on the ground to restore the health of our landscapes follows the leadership of Indigenous practices. And those Indigenous practices were ultimately outlawed for well over a century by agencies like the one that I lead. And so we are very much on a journey to learn from our tribal leaders and our tribal communities and partner with them. So if you're doing this work and you haven't found a way to partner with your local tribes, you need to. It's not only the right thing to do, it's the smart thing to do, because these communities have been stewarding these lands for thousands of years. The second point is we are making progress, streamlining, getting more good fire on the ground. That emergency proclamation that the governor issued on March 1st directed myself and my colleague at the California Environmental Protection Agency to come up with specific recommendations that he, the governor, can use under his executive authority to make it easier to get good, safe fire on the ground. So stay tuned for some more executive action on that. I hope by the next task force meeting we'll have some meaningful, tangible steps we've taken to enable that. And lastly, let me turn to two of our key agency colleagues. Katie.
Thank you. Good morning. Katie Landau, Special Advisor to the Deputy Secretary for Water Policy at the California Environmental Protection Agency, and I'm here today on behalf of Secretary Yana Garcia. So just a couple, of the areas that are under the Cal EPA umbrella is with Cal Recycle really supporting the cleanup and recovery, in LA with the January fires, but we are really focused on all of the fires that have been happening this season. Air Resources Board has been with the getting good fire on the ground has definitely been an area of priority, as long as continuing to support some of those resources and tools so you can all, track what the air quality is in your own community. And then obviously with also monitoring post-fire water quality. A big thing that's already been touched on this morning that has been our focus the last several months has been fast tracking those critical fire projects. And so really happy with that 100 projects that has already been completed and approved to date. But we'll just please remind everyone to, if you do have projects, get those submitted in by the end of the year through the Wildfire Task Force website with that application tool so that we can increase the acreage of the projects that are happening. Really just want to thank everyone who's attending today and is presenting today and help organize this. This is a really incredible forum for the information sharing. It's an opportunity to highlight so much of the work that's happening in the Inland Empire. So just really looking forward to the conversations at today's meeting and hearing about all the ongoing efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. All right, on to Abby to finish this off.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Abby Edwards. I'm the Senior Deputy Director at the Governor's Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation. I'm sitting in for Director Ursefa today, and I'm really excited to be here in the Inland Empire with all of you. I think it's especially exciting for me to be here as our office has a lot of grantees working on extreme heat resilience, adaptation, watershed resilience projects, and a lot of you are here today too, so nice to see you all. I'm really particularly excited about this meeting to really learn about all of the regional partnerships in this region and sort of how it can inform our work in long-term recovery, how it can inform our work in extreme heat resilience, and understanding all the research and the climate impacts in the region. And so I'm really excited for the panels today, and I'll hand it back over to you.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Abby, and thanks, Executive Committee. The whole idea is to have a representation of the key governmental and non-governmental partners that we're driving forward with. All right.